What is up, Insaners? How are you guys doing? Welcome to another Euro 2020 fantasy video today. Guys, today we're going to cover some Limitless and Wildcard drafts for Matchday 2, whether you should use your Limitless or Wildcard chip. We look at both chips and talk about which one is better to use in what situation. As you would have already estimated, guys, this one is a very important video. This will actually help you understand the chips in a better way, as well as use them in the most proficient way possible. And if you really want to nail your chips, make sure you watch this video till the end. Now, we've also done some other videos on the best players to target from different groups earlier in the tournament. If you want, guys, you can also check those out. I'll provide a link to those in the description below. It's been a really good start to the tournament, guys. Lots of good stuff has happened. We've got some good goals, we've got some good matches. Obviously, one horrific incident happened with Christian Eriksen. And oh my god, I'm so glad that he's fine. Again, we're still not sure whether he's going to return to football or not. But this is more than football, guys. I'm so happy that he's absolutely fine. And our best wishes to him and his family for his speedy recovery. Matchday 1 is not finished, guys, and let me know how your week is going so far. Mine has been really horrendous, guys. We'll talk about it in our team selection video, which will be coming out in a day's time. But for now, let me know how your week is going. Now, one last thing before we start today's video, guys. If you like what you see, if you like our drafts, if you like our overall strategy, please do consider subscribing to this video. You can also like the video. That'll really help us with the YouTube algorithm and it'll help us reach more and more people like you. Now, a lot of us would have these questions in mind in terms of what chips to play and what should be the strategy in deciding what chips to go for. Now, guys, there are two chips to play with. One is Limitless and the other one's Wildcard. There's not much of a difference between the two chips and I've kind of covered this in my earlier videos. So you can see those in detail and get a proper understanding. For today's video, we'll just cover these in a brief. Now, Limitless gives you a chance to do unlimited transfers for that particular week, and your budget is also unlimited. Now, guys, this is really important because I get a lot of questions and DMs regarding what is the budget, how many transfers to make, how many substitutions to make, regarding captaincy, etc. But in this chip, the budget is unlimited, so you can get any player of any amount, and it doesn't have to be 100 million. So keep that in mind. Now, obviously, it doesn't mean that you get all 11 players or all 15 players from one particular team, right? You still have to adhere to certain rules. You can still select only 3 players from a particular team. Obviously, you also have to keep in mind the formation rules which exist in the game already. Now, quickly coming to the wildcard chip, it is quite similar to the FPL wildcard if you guys have played FPL before. Now, in wildcard, you can make unlimited transfers for one particular week, and these transfers stay with you for the next week as well. So, as opposed to Limitless, which is only there for a week, Wildcard will stay with you for the next week or so. Now, guys, when you're playing your Wildcard chip, another thing that you have to keep in mind is the budget allocation. Now, the budget is limited to 100 million if you use it in Matchday 1 to 3. So now, what is the chip to play in Matchday 2? A lot of it depends on your pre-tournament strategy. Now, guys, a lot of you would have started this tournament by having a certain strategy in mind that you're probably targeting Matchday 1 and Matchday 3 players and using your Limitless chip in Matchday 2. Now, if that is the case, you're pretty set in your existing strategy and you should go for that. Now, some of you would have not really cared about a strategy in the beginning and you would have selected only players to go for from a Matchday 1 perspective, which is also fine, by the way. But you don't have a particular strategy in mind when you started the game. Now, in this case, your options are quite open, guys. You can play the Limitless chip or even the Wildcard chip in Matchday 2. Now, second really important to keep in mind is that what is the current state of your team, guys? Now, guys, if you have a lot of players who are injured or who got injured in Matchday 1, the likes of Florenzi, for example, or even Castagna, I have Eriksen, for example. So if you have Eriksen, then he would need replacing. Or even if you had a couple of cheap defenders like Jason Denayer or even Windel, then you might think of replacing them. Now, in that case, guys, you might need to go back to the strategy board and think of using the Limitless or the Wildcard chip. Now, what chip to use exactly? That really depends on your team. If you have a lot of these players who were set for Matchday 3 but are now not playing or are injured, or for some reason you don't like them anymore, then you can definitely go for a wildcard. Also, it depends on the kind of player you are. If you want to play a little safer and you are seriously playing this game, then probably the best strategy to go for is Limitless in Matchday 2 and then the wildcard in knockout stage. Now, guys, one more thought that could come to your mind is that my start to this tournament, my start to Matchday 1 was so bad, I probably want to use my chips in the next 2 match days, and that's a completely valid strategy. You can attack the next 2 match days, which is Matchday 2 and 3, and then play your chips accordingly. Now, guys, there could be some teams that go through in Matchday 2, and committing to a wildcard at that time might be a little dangerous because you might see some rotation in Matchday 3. So if you already have selected a few players in Matchday 2 and a lot of them don't play in match day 3, then you are in a bit of trouble. You obviously don't want that scenario, and for that purpose, you could play your Limitless chip in match day 2 and probably save your wildcard for the later stages. So overall, to sum it up, I feel Limitless in match day 2 is a lot more powerful than the wildcard. It doesn't really commit you to a particular strategy for the next couple of weeks. You can still decide what to do with your team in match day 3 and also plan accordingly for the knockout stages. Now guys, I hope that made the whole picture a little clearer for you. Now guys, before we get into the drafts, which will just be in a minute, let's see what fixtures to target from a match day 2 and a match day 3 perspective. Now whether it's the Limitless chip or the wildcard, these are the fixtures that you should go for. When you see match day 2, Italy's playing Switzerland, and that could be a good game for Italy from an attacking point of view as well as a defensive point of view. Again, Switzerland is not a team that can score a lot of goals, and Italy's defense is really good and has been so far in the tournament, and I expect them to keep a clean sheet in this game. Then you have Ukraine versus North Macedonia. Again, we can't really say that Macedonia cannot score, but Ukraine still have a decent defense. Obviously, they conceded 3 goals against Netherlands, but then at the end of the day, it was Netherlands, right? North Macedonia won't have that same attacking potency, and then I think Ukraine could do well in this game. Some other teams to target are Belgium, Netherlands and Sweden as well. Belgium play Denmark, who obviously would be a little shaken up by the whole Eriksen incident, and Eriksen obviously won't be in the team playing that game, so that is a fixture that you can actually target. And then Netherlands is coming against Austria. Again, that's not the easiest of fixtures, but at least from an attacking point of view, you can target that game. Then Sweden is playing Slovakia. Again, I don't see it as a fixture which is very easy to target from a Sweden perspective, because Slovakia also played really well against Poland. Obviously, the red card helped them, but I think overall defensively they were pretty sound and they could be a tough team to break down. Then you have England, who's playing Scotland. Again, it's not an easy game for both sides. Again, for Scotland, it's kind of a must-win game. They have to win this one to stay in the tournament. And for England as well, I think it'll be a matter of pride playing against Scotland. I see a couple of changes in the England lineup, but I still feel that Southgate is going to put up a very strong squad against Scotland. Then I think we have a couple of easy fixtures to target, and they are a lot easier to call as well. France is playing Hungary, and guys, that is the fixture to target. Hungary is the team to target if you are looking at that particular group, because in Germany and Portugal both are tough fixtures for France as well, and I feel we should target a triple up versus Hungary for France. Another good fixture to target, guys, is Spain versus Poland. Guys, Poland look really bad against Slovakia, and this could be another loss for the Polish team. Now coming to matchday 3 fixtures, guys, and there are some fixtures here as well that you can target. Now this is especially from a wildcard perspective. In case you're planning to use your wildcard, these will come in really handy. If you're preparing your team for a wildcard, guys, then Italy in this case as well is a good team to target. They're playing Switzerland in matchday 2 and they're playing Wales in matchday 3. I feel both are fixtures where they can get a clean sheet and they can also score a couple of goals. Now Ukraine is another team that has a fixture here as well. They're playing North Macedonia and Austria. In my opinion, both fixtures look good from an attacking point of view. Defense, again, we still have to see whether they can keep a clean sheet in these 2 games, but there are high chances of that happening. Guys, Belgium is another team that you can target for your wildcard as well. They're playing Denmark in matchday 2 and they're playing Finland in matchday 3. Now both are good fixtures. One thing that we have to keep in mind is that if Belgium win against Denmark, then their players might get rested and Belgium might play the second team. Guys, the 4th team that is getting repeated here is Netherlands. Now they're playing Austria in matchday 2 and then North Macedonia in matchday 3. I know a lot of us had Windle and he didn't start that game, and he's a cheap defender, so we could easily target him. But guys, Dumfries has emerged as a great player to target, and we can actually get him by downgrading probably an attacker or even a midfielder. Guys, another team that we can target here is England. They're playing Scotland matchday 2 and Czech Republic in matchday 3. Now guys, the problem with England is something similar to what Belgium and Netherlands might have. If they win the first 2 fixtures, then a couple of their players might get rested. Guys, if you're looking to target Harry Kane, he might get rested and DCL might get a chance instead of him. So be mindful of that, especially when you're playing your wildcard. I think Spain is another team that I would like to talk about when targeting matchday 2 and matchday 3 fixtures. Now both fixtures are pretty decent. They're playing Poland in matchday 2 and Slovakia in matchday 3. Guys, I expect Spain to score a few goals and also keep a couple of clean sheets. So these options could be decent to go for. Now if you see at the bottom of your screen, guys, you'll see Germany versus Hungary, and this is very specific to the wildcard players. Now guys, Germany have a tough fixture with Portugal in matchday 2. So I'd probably not advise you to get those players in matchday 2. But then when you're targeting matchday 3 fixtures, you can actually get a couple of German players versus Hungary. Now guys, for that you might have to take a couple of players out, and you can target the likes of Sweden as well as England to get those German players in. Now with that, guys, let's look at the matchday 2 limitless draft. Obviously, in the draft, guys, you'll see a lot of premium players, and there's no limit in terms of any budget. I think we should target the best players possible. Of course, that doesn't mean that you ignore the cheap players, but if you have better options, better premium options available, then definitely go for those. Now, if you look at the draft, guys, we've gone super heavy in terms of our forwards, and all of them are premium options. Now, we have the likes of Mbappe, Lukaku, and Memphis Depay, who are playing Hungary, Denmark, and Austria. Now, I personally don't think that any of these players are going to get rested, guys, because these teams are still yet to go through, and these matches would be important for them. Now, Mbappe, Lukaku, and Depay, all three are heavily involved in their team's goal involvements. Mbappe could be among the top scorers, guys. Lukaku played really well against Russia and scored a brace. And Memphis Depay, he could have got a return or two from that particular game against Ukraine, but he still has the ability to do well in the next coming games. Now, with Austria not really having a great defense, I think he has a pretty good chance to do well in that game. Now, it is for that reason, in terms of the Netherlands attack, that we've also gone for Wijnaldum. I think he scored a brilliant goal against Ukraine. He played really well. And guys, I was reading somewhere that he has scored some 15 goals in the last 26 games that he's played for Netherlands. I think that's a great record for a player like him. I mean, the position that he plays in, obviously it's much more advanced than what he plays at Liverpool, or he used to play at Liverpool. Still, I feel he's a good option from a midfield point of view when we're talking about Netherlands. Now, the other couple of options that we've gone ahead in midfield are Yarmolenko and Insigne. Now, Yarmolenko, guys, could have been Malinovsky, but then there's no budget limit in the Limitless chip, and we can target the more expensive players. I feel with Yarmolenko, you would get more of a goal threat, whereas Malinovsky would have a more of a creator role, guys. We've already spoken about how Italy could have a good game against Switzerland, and I think Insigne could be a good pick in this slot. I personally have Berardi right now, like a lot of other players, but we can actually go for Insigne as there's no limit to the budget. I think as he had a pretty good game, and he surely expected to start this one. I feel there are not a lot of question marks in that particular move, and Insigne is kind of a must-have in this draft. Now, among our subs, guys, we have Phil Foden and Ferran Torres, who play later in the match day. Now, if you look at the midfield in the right order, Insigne would play the first, and he's a good captain choice for that particular day, which is the first day of match day 2. Then on the second day of match day 2, Yarmolenko and Wijnaldum have a game. And these two, if not the best captain options to go for, are still quite decent if you don't own the likes of Lukaku in your team. Now, guys, in case Yarmolenko or Wijnaldum don't do well on that particular day and their matches, then you can sub them out for Phil Foden or even Ferran Torres on the next day. I know England won the first game, but again, they have to win against Scotland to absolutely make sure that they go through. And I feel there might be some rotation in the England squad. I mean, Sterling did play well in that game, but again, we might see Grealish on that side, but I still think Phil Foden looks like a certain player to start that particular game. Guys, we all know how well he did for Man City this season, and I definitely think he has the potential to score goals or even create some against Scotland. So the stakes are going to be high, there'll be huge pressure on both teams to do well, plus they'll be playing for pride as well, so I think it's a great matchup. Our last midfielder is Ferran Torres, guys. Now Spain is playing against Poland, who would want to bounce back from their defeat against Slovakia, but it's not going to be easy against the Spanish team. I think Ferran Torres is one of the most exciting players to watch out for this Euros, guys, and I'm pretty sure he's going to start against Poland. Now, what are some other midfielders that I can go for? Now, we have the likes of Berardi, but then if we already have Insigne, then I don't think so Berardi is required. When we talk about England in specific, guys, I don't see a lot of other options. Obviously, we can go for the likes of Sterling as well because there's no budget limitation, but will he score in every game? I really don't think so. I still think that he did well against Croatia, but there are chances that Grealish or someone else might play in his place. Now, with that kind of a risk involved, I probably think Foden is a much safer pick. Now, obviously, in terms of Belgium, there are a few other options as well. You can target KDB if he's fit, or you can also target Eden Hazard, but he looked a bit rusty, and I probably might not want to go there and take that chance. Now, guys, in case if you want to take a risk, and if you are okay playing a differential game, then I think he's still a decent option, but then at the same time, it's very risky. Now, coming to the defense of this draft, guys, right now we're playing a 4-3-3 with 4 defenders, but this can easily change. Now, all of our defenders are premium defenders, guys. We've gone for Spinazzola, who looked absolutely brilliant in that Italy game. I mean, it was a treat to watch him, guys. Let me know in the comments below if you also thought the same. He was definitely in our players to watch out list before the game started, and I think if you already have him in your team, you should definitely retain him. There's a good chance that he gets a clean sheet or even gets an attacking return in that particular game, guys. Now, that Switzerland game could also mean that you can take a chance on him and make him your captain as well. The other 2 defenders, guys, that we've gone ahead are Munier and Dumfries. Both are from decent teams, Belgium and Netherlands. Now, in terms of the earlier drafts and our own team, We had gone for cheaper options in Denier and Windle, and guys, both of them didn't start. It was a huge disappointment. And Munier and Dumfries both did really well, especially Munier, guys, because now Castagna is injured and he's definitely going to start that game. Plus, with all that attacking potential and a clean sheet potential against probably a weak Denmark attack, I think Munier could also get good points in that game. Now, Dumfries is the Dutch option that we've gone for. The cheaper option would have been Windle, as I just mentioned. But I think Dumfries did really well in that game from an attacking point of view as well as a defensive point of view, guys. He was all over the pitch. His numbers were intense. Guys, he had the most penalty area touches. He had the most shots in the box. He created the most big chances. Plus, his average position was excellent. He also had the second highest touches in the final third, guys. These are amazing numbers for a defender, guys. And that is Denzel Dumfries for you. Now, for our fifth defender, we've gone for a France defender, guys, because France is playing against Hungary. Now, that's a pretty easy game to call, at least on paper. You would expect France to keep a clean sheet, and you would want to go for that premium defender. So we've gone for Hernandez. I think there's good potential in Hernandez. He can get an attacking return, plus that extra potential for a clean sheet. That spells a lot of points. I think it's a decent move to go for. Now, in terms of our keepers, guys, I know there are a lot of good options, a lot of probably cheaper options, but then when you're playing the Limitless chip, there's absolutely no need to settle for a cheaper keeper if the fixtures are not good, guys. I think Donnarumma and Lloris would be the go-to options if people are playing the Limitless chip in Matchday 2. Now, Donnarumma is against Switzerland. Again, there is a potential for clean sheet there. And then Lloris, as we just mentioned, France is playing Hungary, so there's a good potential that he gets a clean sheet in that game. Now, you can start with Donnarumma because Italy's playing first, and in case they don't keep a clean sheet, then you can get Lloris in your team and bank on that France clean sheet. Now, I think overall, guys, it's a pretty decent draft. Now, there are a couple of things that would be missing from this draft. If you see, there's no England striker. I mean, there's no Harry Kane in the team. So if you want, you can get Kane in place of Depay. But when I look at both fixtures, I think England's still not a team who could score 3 or 4 goals in a major tournament. And I feel Depay has the easier fixture of the two. So that's my reasoning of having Depay in the team. But if you have Harry Kane in your squad, that is not at all wrong, guys. It's still a decent move to go for, as he's a good striker. In fact, a great striker to go for. And he would be a good pick in your team. Now, in terms of an England defender, I still don't feel that it's very clear in terms of who's going to start. Now, Trippier might start, or Chilwell, or even Shaw could get a chance. So there's not a lot of clarity in terms of who's going to start. I think in terms of the centre backs, it's still a little clearer. So if I really want to go for a defender, I might go for John Stones, who looks a lot more nailed than the other defenders. But other than that, I don't think so. I'm going to go for a Pickford or any other defender in that case. Now, another variation of this draft could be having a Spain defender, guys. Now, when there's no limit in terms of budget, guys, you could go for Jordi Alba, who's a 6 million defender in that Spanish team. He's attacking. He could give you those attacking returns as well as that clean sheet against Poland. So that is another change that you can go for. Overall, it's a pretty balanced squad, and with those current changes, I think you could do well this week. Great, so that was a draft for people who are going for the Limitless chip in Matchday 2. Now let's look at the Wildcard Draft for Matchday 2. Now guys, it's a little bit similar in terms of how we approach the wildcard. Obviously, the picks might not be that premium because there's a limit on the budget, but the thought process is the same. We are targeting some similar teams, plus there is some variation in terms of what teams we can get in this particular week, considering that we're targeting Matchday 2 as well as Matchday 3. Now, in terms of the overall balance of the squad, guys, we've gone for Griezmann instead of Mbappe. Again, if you have the money for Mbappe, you can definitely go for him. But I feel if France go through the first 2 games, then Mbappe might be rested. There's still a chance that Griezmann might start the 3rd game. Again, his minutes might be managed. But that start means that he can get an early goal or even an assist and get you that attacking return. Now, in case if you don't want to go for Griezmann and if you have the money for the likes of Lukaku or even Harry Kane, you can still think of getting them. But again, guys, the problem with them is the same what we have with Mbappe, that they might get rested in case their teams go through after round 2. Now, when you're playing your wildcard, that might hurt you in the long run because then you might have to transfer them out as your priority transfers. Now, the 3rd striker that we've gone for is Yaremchuk. That's a really interesting pick because he plays for Ukraine, and Ukraine has 2 decent fixtures with North Macedonia and Austria. Again, guys, there are high chances that Ukraine plays their best team for these 2 fixtures because they want to go through, and Yaremchuk has the ability to score really good goals and get you those attacking points. He's already got a goal and an assist in the first game against Netherlands, guys, and that was one of the stronger teams in this group. Imagine what he could do against the weaker teams of the group. I think if you are looking at a budget striker option, he's definitely the one to go for. In terms of the midfield, guys, I think we've kept it pretty open. The Malinovsky pick instead of Yarmolenko is definitely because of the budget, guys. because Malinovsky is a lot cheaper than Yarmolenko and he still has decent attacking potential. Now for the wildcard draft guys, we've gone a bit heavy in terms of the Italy midfield with both Insigne and Berardi. I think it was a great combination in Matchday 1 and I still have a feeling that both of them might start the Matchday 3 fixture as well. Now guys, in case if that happens, then they're playing Switzerland and Wales. Both are okay defenses, nothing great about them, and Italy can definitely score against these two teams. Now talking about the Italian players guys, we've not got for Immobile in this particular draft, and the reason is that they're better forward players to go for this particular week guys. And I seriously feel the likes of Depay, Griezmann, or even Harry Kane are better options to go for this week. In terms of our defense, I think it's pretty similar to what we had in our Limitless chip. We've gone for Spinazzola, we've gone for Munier, and we've gone for Dumfries. All three are really good attacking defenders who are capable of giving you an attacking return as well as a good clean sheet. Switzerland, Denmark, and Austria don't really breed a lot of confidence in terms of keeping their own clean sheets, so I think there's good potential here. The other thing that I said was missing in our Limitless draft was an England defender guys, and we've gone for Tyrone Mings here. Again, not really sure whether it's okay to invest 5.5 million or even more for an English defender, considering that they're not really fixed in terms of their starting places. I think Mings and Stones would be the most nailed on in my opinion, and Mings being the cheaper option could still give us that clean sheet potential. In terms of the keepers guys, we've not gone for any premium keeper here. We've kept it pretty simple. We've gone for Hradecki, who got a major haul against Denmark. Again, that's not really going to happen every week. He got a clean sheet and he saved a penalty. That's not going to happen every time, but he's still a decent keeper to go for against a Russian team. The other keeper guys that we've gone for is Bashnin from Ukraine. I know Ukraine conceded 2 goals against Netherlands, but against North Macedonia, it could be a whole different game. I still feel Ukraine has a good defense and there is a potential for clean sheet. Plus if Hradecki doesn't keep a clean sheet against Russia, we get a second shot at it against North Macedonia. You could see guys, if you're playing a wildcard chip in Matchday 2, there are some sacrifices, there are some compromises that you have to make, and I still feel Limitless chip in Matchday 2 is very powerful. I still think it's the optimal strategy to go for. Obviously you can target similar teams and go for different players if you want to go the differential route, but I think this gives you an overall idea in terms of how to approach this. I'm personally going for the Limitless chip strategy guys in Matchday 2, and I'll probably save the wildcard for the latter stages. So that'll be all for today's video guys. Let me know what you're doing in terms of strategy for your Matchday 2, whether you're using your Limitless chip or you're going for the different wildcard chip. I think it'll be really interesting. I hope I was able to help you plan your strategy and understand what chip to go for and how to structure your team. Leave a like guys to this video if you liked what you saw today. If you found this video useful, please also consider subscribing to our channel. We're doing a lot of Euro content on a regular basis, so you can check out our playlist. We'll mention that in the description below. You can also follow us on Instagram guys, where we are posting regular updates, we are posting match highlights, the best goals, we are posting a lot of other content as well, and you'll also see the channel handle in the description guys. Make sure to give it a look. Keep tinkering with your teams, and I'll see you in Saners next time.